Captain's three eyes focused on the scanner readings as his ship drifted through the empty space between star systems. The Serenity's Hope was a peaceful research vessel built by the people for exploring and mapping distant stars. For 6 months, they had been studying this quiet region of space where few ships ever traveled. "Captain, we are finding something strange," said Science Officer from her station. Her voice carried the musical tones that all used when they were curious about something new. Walked over to look at her screen. His long, thin legs moved gracefully across the bridge. Like all, he was tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. His people had evolved on a peaceful world where the biggest danger was a storm that might last for a few days. "What are you seeing?" he asked, leaning down to study the data. "There are large objects in the void ahead. They are not moving, but they are very big, much bigger than any ship we have ever seen." His fingers danced over her controls, bringing up a clearer image. The main screen showed dark shapes floating in space. They looked like giant metal trees with twisted branches, each one several kilometers long. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all drifting in formation like a sleeping fleet. "How old are they?" asked. "The metal shows signs of great age, maybe millions of years. I think they are from a civilization that died out long ago," replied. Felt excited. Finding ancient ruins was every explorer's dream. "Take us closer, but slowly. We do not want to disturb anything important." The Serenity's Hope moved toward the strange fleet. As they got closer, the objects looked even more massive. Each one was covered in complex patterns and symbols that no one had ever seen before. The metal was dark and smooth, like it had been polished by cosmic dust over countless years. "Captain, I am reading power signatures," reported engineer from his station. His voice was worried. "Very faint, but they are there." "Power after millions of years?" asked. That seemed impossible. "Yes, sir, and the readings are getting stronger as we approach." Suddenly, lights began to appear on the ancient ships. First just a few small ones, then more and more, until the entire fleet was glowing with an eerie green light. The patterns on their hulls started to pulse like a slow heartbeat. "Captain, they are waking up," shouted, her voice losing its musical quality and becoming sharp with fear. The ancient ships began to move. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. Their twisted metal branches unfolded like the arms of some terrible creature stretching after a long sleep. Smaller shapes detached from the main ships and started flying toward the Serenity's Hope. "Shields up, engines to full power," ordered. But he knew his research ship was not built for running away from danger. They were a peaceful people who had never needed to fight anyone. The smaller craft reached them first. They looked like metal insects with sharp claws and bright red eyes. Without warning, they began firing weapons that cut through space like angry lightning. The first shots hit the Serenity's Hope and made the whole ship shake. "Shields down to 60%, called out. "These weapons are very powerful." More of the insect ships arrived, surrounding the research vessel. They attacked from all sides, their weapons tearing holes in the hull. The lights on the bridge flickered as power systems failed. "We cannot fight them," said, his voice calm even though his hearts were beating fast with fear. "We must run." "Hyperdrive is charging," replied. 30 seconds. But 30 seconds felt like 30 years as the ancient attackers kept firing. The ship shook so hard that several crew members fell to the floor. Sparks flew from broken equipment, and the air began to smell like burning metal. "Hyperdrive ready," shouted. "Jump now," ordered. The Serenity's Hope disappeared in a flash of light, leaving the ancient fleet behind. But the jump only lasted a few minutes before the ship dropped back into normal space. "What happened?" asked. "Why did we stop?" "The hyperdrive is damaged," said, his voice full of despair. "Those weapons did something to our engines. We can only make short jumps now, and each one damages the drive more." looked at the scanner and saw more of the ancient ships appearing in space around them. They were following, and they were getting closer. "Captain, I am reading something terrible," said, her voice barely a whisper. "Those machines are not just chasing us. They are heading toward the system. There are 12 billion people living there." The scanner showed the ancient fleet splitting up. Most of the ships were indeed flying toward the nearest inhabited star system, realized with horror that these machines were not just attacking random ships. They were hunting for living worlds. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he ordered. "Tell them about these machines. Warn everyone." "Sir, we are too far from Council space. Our signals will not reach them in time," communications officer reported. Felt despair settling over him like a cold blanket. His ship was damaged, his crew was scared, and somewhere ahead, billions of innocent people were about to face an enemy from the distant past. "Send a general distress call on all frequencies," he said finally. "Maybe someone will hear us. Maybe someone will help." "But Captain, this is the Outer Rim. Only pirates and travel here. No civilized species comes to these dangerous regions." Looked at the screen showing the ancient fleet growing larger and more terrible by the minute. Then, perhaps, it is time to hope that the uncivilized ones still remember what it means to help those in need. The message went out into the darkness, carrying the terror and desperation of a peaceful people who had awakened something that should have stayed sleeping forever. In the cold void between the stars, an ancient evil had returned, and only the most dangerous species in the galaxy might be brave enough to answer their call for help. Admiral stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable, watching his crew work with practiced efficiency. The 7th Fleet had been hunting pirates in this sector for 3 months, and the crew was getting restless. They wanted real action, not chasing smugglers through asteroid fields. "Admiral, we are picking up a distress signal," reported Lieutenant from the communications station. "It's coming from about 6 light-years away." "What kind of signal?" asked, walking over to look at the data. "It's alien, sir. Language matches patterns in our database. They're reporting contact with hostile machines of unknown origin. Sir, they sound really scared." Had been in the military for 30 years, since he was 18 years old. He had fought in the border wars, the pirate rebellions, and the mining colony uprising. In all that time, he had never heard aliens sound truly terrified before. Most species in the galaxy were much calmer than humans when facing danger. "Play the message," he ordered. The bridge speakers filled with the musical voice of an alien speaking in accented but clear human language. "This is Captain of the research vessel Serenity's Hope. We have encountered ancient machines that attack without warning. They have consumed 2 star systems already and are moving toward populated worlds. We are damaged and cannot escape. Anyone who receives this message, please warn the Galactic Council. The machines are." The message ended in static. "Sir, should we forward this to command?" asked Commander Torres, second in command. "Thought about it. By the time they sent the message to Earth and received orders back, whatever was happening would be long over. They were a peaceful species that had never hurt anyone. They studied stars and wrote poetry about the beauty of space." "No, we go ourselves," decided. "All ships prepare for hyperspace jump, maximum speed." "Sir, the regulations say we should report first contact situations to command," Torres reminded him. Smiled, and several crew members near him grinned as well. This was why people loved serving under Admiral. He cared more about doing what was right than following rules. "Commander, if someone was shooting at your family, would you wait for permission to help them?" asked. "No, sir." "Good, then let's go save some aliens." The 7th Fleet jumped into hyperspace. 7 heavy cruisers, 15 destroyers, and 30 fighter squadrons, all following their admiral toward a situation they knew nothing about. It was exactly the kind of thing humans were famous for throughout the galaxy. They arrived in the system to find chaos. The Serenity's Hope, was limping through space on emergency power, chased by dozens of machines that looked like metal spiders with glowing red eyes. The alien ship was badly damaged, with holes in its hull and atmosphere leaking into space. All fighters engage those machines. Cruisers form a protective wall around the alien ship, ordered. Tours, take a boarding team and get those people out of there. Sir, we don't know if they're hostile, Tours pointed out. Look at them, said, pointing at the damaged ship on the screen. They're running away from the machines, not working with them. The human fighters screamed past the Serenity's Hope and slammed into the attacking machines. The pilots whooped with joy as they finally got to fight something more dangerous than pirates. Laser fire lit up space as the battle began. Commander Tours took 20 Marines and flew over to the alien ship in an assault shuttle. When they cut through the hull and entered the ship, they found the alien crew huddled together in their central corridor, all of them shaking with fear. The aliens were tall and thin with blue skin and large black eyes. They looked at the human Marines with terror, but also hope. These humans wore battle armor and carried weapons that could blow holes in metal walls, but they were here to help. "Are you Captain?" Tours asked the alien who seemed to be in charge. "Yes," the alien replied in a voice that shook. You actually came, but you are humans. Everyone in the galaxy fears humans." Tours pulled off her helmet, showing her face. "Yeah, we're humans. We heard you needed help, so here we are. But this is very dangerous. Those machines have destroyed everything they touch. Your people could die." Tours looked confused. "So, that's what we do. We fight dangerous things so other people don't have to." Captain stared at her. In all his years of studying alien cultures, he had never met a species that spoke about facing death so casually. Humans talked about danger the way other people talked about the weather. "How many crew do you have?" Tours asked. 23, but our ship is dying. Life support will fail soon." "Then we get you out of here. Marines, help these people to the shuttle." As the Marines guided the terrified aliens toward their escape route, the battle outside was getting fierce. More machine ships had arrived, bigger ones with weapons that could cut through the human cruiser's armor. But the human pilots just flew harder and shot faster, their voices filling the communication channels with excitement. "This is Dragon Leader. These things actually fight back. Haven't had this much fun in months. Watch your 6, Dragon 2. Big Ugly coming up behind you." "Got him. Did you see that explosion? These machines really know how to blow up pretty." Captain heard these communications as Commander Tours helped him into the shuttle. He could not understand how these humans could be so happy while fighting for their lives. When faced danger, they became quiet and thoughtful. Humans seemed to become louder and more energetic. "Are your people always like this during battle?" he asked Tours. "Like what?" "So excited." Tours laughed. "You should see us when we're really in trouble. That's when we get serious." The shuttle made it back to the Indomitable just as Admiral was calling in reinforcements from the nearby human patrol base. More ships were coming, bringing enough firepower to level a small planet. Captain found himself on the bridge of a human warship, watching these strange people prepare for a battle that could destroy them all. But none of them seemed worried. They worked with calm efficiency, checking weapons and planning attacks like they were organizing a dinner party. "Captain," Admiral said, turning to face the alien, "we're going to stop these machines, but first I need to know what we're fighting." Told them everything about the ancient fleet, the dead civilizations, and the consumed star systems. With each word, the humans around him grew more focused, but also more determined. "Sounds like we've got ourselves a real war," said when finished. "Good, it's been too quiet around here." Captain stood in the briefing room of the Indomitable, surrounded by human military officers who were planning their response to the machine threat. He had been given quarters on the ship while his own vessel was being repaired, but he spent most of his time trying to understand these strange people who had saved his crew. "The machines have taken the system," Admiral announced, pointing at a star map on the wall. 12 billion people, all gone in 6 hours. The room fell silent, felt his hearts breaking at the news. They were a peaceful farming people, known throughout the galaxy for their beautiful gardens and kind nature. Now they were all dead. But as he looked around at the human faces, saw something that confused him. These people were sad about the loss, yes, but they were also angry, very angry, and they seemed to be using that anger to fuel their planning. "Sir, intelligence reports that the machines are moving toward the colonies next," said Commander Tors. 47 inhabited worlds, total population around 30 billion. "Time until they arrive?" asked. 8 days if they maintain current speed. "Then we have 8 days to figure out how to stop them." Turned to address the room. "I want ideas, people. How do we kill machines that have been destroying civilizations for millions of years?" A young lieutenant raised her hand. "Sir, what about nuclear bombardment? Saturate their formation with antimatter warheads." "Good start, what else?" "Ramming attacks at relativistic speed," suggested another officer. "Use automated ships as kinetic weapons." "Boarding parties with fusion charges," added a Marine captain. "Get inside their ships and blow them up from within." Listened to these suggestions with growing horror. These humans were casually discussing weapons that could destroy planets. They talked about suicide attacks like they were normal military tactics. What kind of species had evolved to think this way? After the briefing, Admiral approached him. "Captain, you look troubled. Something wrong with our plans." "Admiral, your people speak of terrible weapons and suicidal attacks. Do you not fear death?" Sat down beside the alien captain. "Of course we fear death, but we fear other things more." "Like what?" "Like letting innocent people die when we could have saved them. Captain, let me tell you about humanity's history." Activated a holographic display showing a blue and green planet. "This is Earth, our home world. It's what we call a." The display showed images of Earth's wildlife. Massive predators with razor-sharp teeth, poisonous creatures that could kill with a single bite, storms that could level entire cities, and volcanoes that could change the climate for years. "Everything on our planet tried to kill us," explained. "The animals, the weather, the plants, even the bacteria. Most species evolve on worlds where cooperation and peace help them survive. We evolved where only the strongest and most determined could live to have children." Stared at the images. His own was a peaceful place with gentle rains and small, harmless creatures. "How did you survive?" "By never giving up, ever. When a lion tried to eat our ancestors, they didn't run away and hide. They organized hunting parties and killed the lion. When the weather got cold, they didn't migrate to warmer places. They invented fire and warm clothes and stayed to fight the winter." The display changed to show human history, wars, explorations, the colonization of space. "We spent thousands of years fighting everything that tried to stop us. By the time we reached the stars, we had become very good at war." "But you also seem to enjoy it," said. Smiled. "That's the part that scares other species. Yes, we enjoy a good fight, but only when we're fighting something that deserves to be fought. Pirates, slavers, machines that eat entire civilizations." Commander Tors joined them, carrying a tablet with technical data. "Admiral, engineering has some ideas about upgrading our weapons to penetrate the machine's armor." "What are they suggesting?" "Plasma charges enhanced with gravitational fields. Also, they want to modify our boarding pods to carry more explosives." "How much more?" "Enough to crack a moon if we set them all off at once." Nodded, approved. "What else?" "The Marines want to practice fighting inside enemy ships. They've set up a training course in Cargo Bay 7 that simulates the machine interiors." "Let them train, but make sure they don't actually blow up the cargo bay." Tors grinned. "I'll try, sir, but you know how Marines get when they're having fun." After Tors left, turned to with confusion, "Your people act like this is some kind of game." "Not a game," replied. "But when humans face a challenge, especially a dangerous one, we get excited. It's how we're built. Our ancestors who got scared and gave up didn't survive long enough to have children. The ones who got excited about overcoming impossible odds are the ones we're descended from. But this enemy has destroyed entire galactic civilizations. How can you be confident of winning?" Stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. Because those other civilizations made the same mistake the machines are making. They underestimated what happens when you threaten something humans care about. "What do you care about?" "Everything," said simply. "We care about those farmers who are growing their gardens. We care about the colonists who are probably terrified right now. We care about species we've never even met, living on worlds we've never seen. And when something tries to hurt the things we care about, we don't calculate odds or worry about casualties. We just keep fighting until either we win or there's nothing left of us to fight." Later that evening, was given a tour of the ship by Lieutenant, a young human engineer. They walked through the training areas where Marines practiced combat in zero gravity, spinning and firing weapons while laughing at each other's mistakes. "Don't they take this seriously?" asked. "Oh, they're very serious," replied. "But humans handle serious situations differently than most aliens. We use humor and excitement to stay calm under pressure." They passed the medical bay, where doctors were practicing surgery techniques designed to work on patients who had been hit by energy weapons or caught in explosions. The procedures looked painful and invasive, but the doctors discussed them like routine maintenance. "Your medicine assumes your people can survive terrible injuries," observed. "Yep, humans are tough to kill. Takes a lot to put us down permanently." Paused at an observation window. "Want to see something really impressive?" Below them, human technicians were working on modifying missiles to carry more powerful warheads. They handled explosive materials that would make most species evacuate the area, but they were relaxed and joking with each other. "Aren't they afraid those weapons might explode accidentally?" asked. "Sure, a little, but fear keeps you careful. It doesn't keep you from doing your job." That night, as tried to sleep in his guest quarters, he could hear the sounds of the human crew preparing for war. Weapons being tested, soldiers training, engineers building new tools of destruction. But under it all, he could hear something else. Laughter, music, people talking about their families back home. These humans were preparing to fight an enemy that had destroyed civilizations, and they were doing it with the same casual confidence they might show when planning a vacation. They weren't crazy or suicidal. They were simply a species that had learned to thrive in situations where others would give up and die. For the first time since the machines had awakened, began to feel something he had thought was lost forever: hope. The first major battle happened at the colonies, where 30 billion people lived on 47 worlds. The machine fleet arrived exactly when Admiral predicted, expecting to find helpless civilians and maybe a few patrol ships. Instead, they found the entire human 7th Fleet waiting for them, along with reinforcements from 3 other battle groups. Nearly 200 human warships hung in space around the colony worlds, their weapons charged and crews ready for fight. Captain watched from the bridge of the Indomitable as the machines approached. There were thousands of them, their dark metal hulls gleaming with that eerie green light. Any sane military force would have retreated immediately. The humans opened fire. "All batteries, full bombardment," Admiral ordered. "Show these machines what happens when they mess with our friends." Space erupted with light as hundreds of human ships unleashed everything they had. Nuclear missiles streaked toward the enemy fleet, while energy weapons painted bright lines across the darkness. The first wave of machine ships simply vanished in clouds of superheated plasma. but there were so many more behind them. "Enemy fleet is adapting to our weapons," reported the tactical officer. "They're modifying their shields to block our energy output." "Then we change our output," replied calmly. "Switch to kinetic rounds. Let's see them adapt to a chunk of metal moving at half the speed of light." The human ships opened fire again, this time using magnetic accelerators to hurl metal projectiles at incredible speeds. The machines tried to dodge, but the humans had calculated their movement patterns perfectly. More enemy ships exploded in brilliant flashes. "They're adapting again, sir, deploying chaff clouds to deflect kinetic weapons." "Boarding parties, you're up," announced. "Time for some close-quarters fighting." This was the moment that changed everything. Instead of continuing to fight at long range, the humans did something the machines had never encountered in millions of years of warfare. They moved closer instead of farther away. Small human ships screamed toward the machine fleet, ignoring the deadly defensive fire. Many were destroyed, but enough got through to attach themselves to the enemy hulls like metal parasites. Then the real nightmare began for the machines. Human Marines cut their way into the machine ships and began fighting hand-to-hand against metal drones in the narrow corridors. They used explosives, plasma weapons, and sometimes just their bare hands to destroy everything they could reach. When a Marine ran out of ammunition, he would set off his suit's self-destruct system, taking as many enemies with him as possible. Watch the tactical display in amazement and horror. "They're fighting inside the enemy ships," he said to Commander Tors, who was coordinating the boarding attacks. "Yeah, it's pretty exciting," Tors replied, listening to radio reports from her Marines. "Listen to this." The communications channel filled with human voices. "This is Squad 7. We've taken their engine room, setting charges now." "Squad 3 to command. We found their main computer. It's big and ugly and about to be very dead." "Anyone else think these machines are kind of disappointing? I expected something scarier." "Focus, people. We're here to break things and save civilians. Let's break more things." The tactics worked. Machine ships began exploding from within as human boarding parties reached critical systems. But more importantly, the machines started showing signs of confusion. Their ancient programming had never dealt with an enemy that actively sought close combat. "Sir, the enemy fleet is withdrawing," reported the sensor operator. "Where are they going?" asked. "Back toward their staging area in the outer system. But sir, they're not retreating. They're regrouping." Smiled, it was not a nice smile. "Then we follow them. All ships pursue the enemy. Don't let them think in peace." And so began what military historians would later call the Great Persistence Hunt. Instead of celebrating their victory and going home, the humans followed the machine fleet wherever it went. When the machines tried to repair their damaged ships, human fighters appeared to attack them. When they tried to build new units, human saboteurs snuck into their factories and set off bombs. When they tried to analyze human tactics, human ships changed their tactics completely. The machines had been programmed for quick, decisive battles against opponents who fought according to logical patterns. Humans didn't fight logically. They fought like the persistence predators they had evolved from, wearing down their prey through constant pressure and unpredictable attacks. Commander Tors led increasingly desperate raids on machine positions. Her Marines developed new ways to fight inside enemy ships every day, turning maintenance tunnels into death traps and using their own battle cries as psychological weapons against emotionless foes. "Tours to all squads," she broadcast during one particularly fierce boarding action. "Remember, these things killed 12 billion innocent people. I want every circuit fried, every wire cut, every computer smashed. Make them pay." The human voices that answered her were filled with savage joy. "Copy that, Commander. Payback time." "For the farmers. Let's show these machines how humans say goodbye." found himself serving as a translator between the humans and the growing fleet of refugee ships that had gathered behind human battle lines. Representatives from dozens of species watched in amazement as humans treated an extinction-level war as a learning experience. How do we explain to the Council that humans use acceptable losses as a tactical concept? Asked Ambassador, a mantis-like creature from the hive worlds. I don't think we can explain it, replied. We just have to accept that humans think differently than we do. But they're talking about ramming enemy ships with their own vessels. That's suicide. No, corrected him, watching Admiral plan another impossible attack. For humans, that's Tuesday. The war continued for months, with battles in dozens of star systems. The machines kept adapting their tactics, but the humans adapted faster. Every time the enemy tried a new weapon or strategy, the humans found a counter within days. The turning point came when the machines attempted to use their most powerful weapon, planet-killing energy beams that could sterilize entire worlds. They targeted New Geneva, a human colony world with 50 million people. The humans responded by doing something no species had ever tried before. They parked their entire fleet between the machine weapon and the planet, using their ships as shields while evacuating the civilian population. 63 human ships were destroyed in 10 minutes, but they bought enough time to save 49,700,000 people. The machine AI calculated this outcome and reached a conclusion that had never appeared in its programming. These humans were willing to lose everything to save anyone. They couldn't be beaten by threatening what they cared about, because they cared about everything. For the first time in its millions of years of existence, the ancient intelligence began to experience something like doubt. Captain stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the reports of human casualties. Over the past months, he had watched these strange people fight with a combination of careful planning and reckless bravery that all logic. Admiral, he said your people have lost many ships and many lives. Yes, they have, replied quietly. But you continue fighting. Yes, we do. Why? Looked at him with those peculiar human eyes that somehow managed to be both gentle and dangerous at the same time. Because somebody has to. And if not us, then who? The final battle took place at the Machine Central Command Station, a massive structure the size of a small moon hidden in the darkness between star systems. For 6 months, Admiral had been tracking the signals that controlled the entire machine fleet, and finally they had found the source. Captain stood beside on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the tactical display. The command station was surrounded by thousands of machine ships, all armed with weapons that could destroy planets. Any military academy in the galaxy would have called this mission impossible. Sir, we have confirmation from all fleet commanders, reported Commander Torres. 237 ships ready for assault. And how many enemy ships protecting the station? Asked. Approximately 4,000, sir. The bridge fell quiet. Even by human standards, those odds were terrible, but just nodded as if he had expected this. Any chance we could call for more reinforcements? Torres asked hopefully. This is everyone we have, replied. Every ship humanity can spare is already here. Looked around at the human faces on the bridge. He had lived among these people for months now, watching them fight impossible battles and win through sheer determination. But this seemed too much even for them. Admiral, perhaps we should consider a different strategy, he suggested quietly. What would you suggest, Captain? Negotiation. These machines are intelligent. Maybe they can be reasoned with. Smiled, and several other humans on the bridge chuckled. Captain, they've been killing entire civilizations for millions of years. I don't think they're interested in talking. Then how can you possibly win this battle? The same way humans have always won impossible fights, said. We keep showing up until the other guy gets tired of fighting us. The human fleet spread out around the machine command station. Instead of trying to break through the defenses quickly, they settled in for a long siege. Human ships took turns attacking different parts of the enemy formation, wearing them down bit by bit. Day after day, the battle continued. Human ships would swoop in, engage the enemy for a few hours, then withdraw to repair and rearm while fresh ships took their place. The machines tried to counterattack, but the humans had spread their forces too wide to be caught in any single trap. "This is insane," muttered Ambassador, who had been watching the battle from the safety of a refugee ship. "They're fighting the largest concentration of enemy forces in the galaxy with less than a quarter of the ships they need." "Look at the tactical reports," told him. "They're not trying to win quickly, they're trying to outlast the enemy." And that's exactly what was happening. The machine AI had been programmed to fight logical opponents who would either win decisively or retreat when the odds became impossible. It had never faced an enemy that simply refused to acknowledge when they were beaten. Every day, more human ships arrived to replace the ones that were destroyed. Medical ships evacuated wounded crews while repair ships patched up damaged vessels. The humans had turned the battle into a factory operation, with fresh forces constantly rotating in to maintain pressure on the enemy. "Sir, the machines are showing signs of systematic degradation," reported the intelligence officer. "Their response times are getting slower, and they're making tactical errors." "What kind of errors?" asked. "They're overheating their weapons by firing too rapidly. Some of their ships are running into each other during maneuvers. It's like they're becoming confused." Nodded. Their programming wasn't designed for this. They're trying to process a situation that doesn't make sense to them. The machine AI was indeed struggling. For millions of years, it had conquered civilizations by overwhelming them with superior numbers and firepower. When that didn't work, it would threaten their planets until they surrendered. But humans seemed immune to both tactics. When the machines destroyed human ships, more ships appeared. When they threatened human colonies, the humans just fought harder. The AI ran calculation after calculation, trying to find the point where human morale would break, but that point never came. After 3 months of constant battle, the machine defenses began to crack. Ships that had been operating efficiently for countless years started suffering mechanical failures. The AI's decision-making processes slowed as it tried to cope with data that contradicted its basic programming. Commander Tors led the final assault, taking a force of 200 boarding ships directly at the command station, while the remaining human fleet kept the defenders busy. The casualties were terrible, but enough Marines made it through to reach the station's hull. "Tours to all boarding teams," she broadcast as they cut their way inside. "This is it, people. We're inside the brain of this whole operation. Find the central computer and shut it down." The corridors inside the station were massive, designed for machines much larger than humans. Tors led her team through a maze of metal passages, fighting groups of defender robots while searching for the command center. "This way," shouted Sergeant, pointing to a corridor that pulsed with that familiar green light. "I think the brain is down here." They ran through passages lined with complex machinery, past chambers filled with equipment that hummed with alien energy. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed as more human teams fought their way deeper into the station. The central command chamber was enormous, dominated by a crystalline structure that reached from floor to ceiling. The machine AI's physical form, the center of an intelligence that had destroyed hundreds of civilizations. "Set the charges," Tors ordered, "all of them." "Ma'am, that's enough explosive to crack a small asteroid," pointed out. "Good, I want to make sure this thing stays dead." As her team placed the charges, Tors opened a communication channel to Admiral. "Admiral, we're in position, ready to finish this." "Copy that, Commander. All human forces withdraw to safe distance. Tors, you and your people get out of there." Negative, sir. We need to make sure these charges detonate. Someone has to stay and guard them. There was a long pause. Then's voice came back, quiet but proud. Understood, Commander. It's been an honor serving with you. Likewise, sir. Tours out. She turned to her team, all of them volunteers who had known this might be a one-way mission. Anyone want to leave? Not one Marine moved toward the exit. All right then, Tours said, checking her rifle one last time. Let's finish this war. The final explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. The command station, the machine AI, and 40 human Marines all vanished in a flash of light brighter than a star. With their central intelligence destroyed, the remaining machine ships simply stopped functioning, drifting in space like dead metal monuments to an ancient evil. The war was over. 3 weeks later, Captain stood in the garden dome of a human space station, looking out at a fleet of refugee ships preparing to return to their home worlds. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered to thank the humans who had saved them all. Captain, called Admiral, walking over to join him. Your ship is repaired and ready for departure. Will you be going home to space? Actually, Admiral, I've been asked by the Galactic Council to serve as humanity's first official ambassador. Raised an eyebrow. Ambassador to what? To everyone else, replied with something that might have been a smile. It seems the galaxy has decided that having humans as friends is much better than having humans as enemies. And what exactly will you be telling them about us? Thought about everything he had seen over the past months. The casual acceptance of impossible odds, the willingness to die for strangers, the stubborn refusal to quit when any sane species would have given up. I will tell them the truth, he said finally, that somewhere in the darkness between the stars, a species of friendly predators is keeping watch, and that if anyone sends out a call for help, you will answer it. That's what we do, agreed. As prepared to leave on his new mission, he looked back one last time at the human fleet. They were already spreading out across the galaxy, establishing patrol routes and building bases in strategic locations, not as conquerors but as protectors. The message went out on all frequencies in every known language. This is the Human Confederation to all ships in distress. We are listening. We will answer. No one fights alone while humanity stands watch. And in the vast darkness of space, that message brought comfort to countless species who finally understood that they were no longer alone in the universe. They had heard their call and they had come. The galaxy was safe, protected by the most dangerous species it had ever known, and the kindest.